Hi guys, in this video we're going to be making and painting, well that might be the second part depending on how long it is, orc barricades. What I've started off with for my base is I just had some off-cut pieces of wood that were a nice thickness. These are actually 18mm, so I've tried to cut a slight curve on them, but being how thin they are it wasn't very easy with the bandsaw. I actually cut up 6 of these and 6 of the small ones at 6" and 3", so they were simulating the Aegis defense line that you get in the Warhammer 40,000 rulebook. But I've just got 2 of them in front, 2 here, just to give you the rough sizes. Like I said, they're not perfect. I have cut them a little bit longer and a little bit shorter and such, but ½ inch either way is not really going to cause an argument in the game. Anyway, what I've then gone on and done with this piece, it was slightly thinner in the first place, but I've actually ground out some spaces and such in it, so it gives it some texture. And what I'm probably going to do with this one, unlike the ones that I've already done, which I'll show you the details on those later, this one I'm going to leave this shape, not texture it in any way or anything, and just paint on a brickwork detail to represent a wall. So let's go on and start putting parts on it to make it into a decent fortification. So as you can probably already see, I've drilled some holes in this, and that was just to save some time. What I've also done is I've got some cocktail sticks and snapped them in half, and got some bamboo skewers and cut them to the right size, and we'll show you as I'm gluing them where they're going to be going. Just give me a second, I'll just pass my glue gun around. Right, so all we're going to do is put a blob of hot glue over these, and I already know that these are the length I want because I've already tried them all in the holes and such before the video, just to save some time for you for once. Hopefully less nattering as well, I do apologise. But you always want to give these a test run to check that they're the length you want, because of course if you've already glued them in, it makes it an absolute pain to get them back out. Now obviously we're trying not to get many wisps on this. So I'm going to move to this end now, because I must admit I haven't marked up, which I should have done really, which holes were for cocktail sticks and which ones were for the bamboo skewers, which are actually there for a different style of fencing. This barricade is going to look very random, and I do apologise for that. However, it has been designed to, well, this is just basically a barricade design that I've put a few different techniques on to show you them all in one video, rather than having to go through and do barricades with spikes and barricades with mesh and barricades with corrugated. So here we go, we've put the spikes on, and of course if you're just doing spikes you carry on doing that, but we're not, so I'm going to put 2 of these bamboo skewers in here and just make sure they push down well. And then I've got another 2 that I'm putting in here for another technique. Now obviously you can leave these with the spikes up or the spikes down or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But there we go, that's that for now. So if I just leave it to dry, and then we'll come back to it. Right, the first technique that I'm going to show you is putting corrugated steel, metal panels on here. So all we're going to do is just give this a nice liberal coating, and this is actually the pieces that we'd cut off of the pizza box. I will say as a little tip, if you find that one side peels off easily and the other side leaves a few bits, then the easiest way to do it is find the one that's got a few bits stuck through it. If you've already gone through it as you would with a bamboo stick or something, with the spikes easiest, just to peel it up, then just scrub along it with a toothbrush and it'll take off any of those last traces. Sometimes this won't work, it all depends on the boxes themselves. I think normally you'll find quick folding boxes like takeaway ones and such are easier to peel apart, and the ones for instance like veg boxes and such, where they actually carry things more heavy duty, are designed to be glued a lot heavier. Anyway, so we've stuck the first one on, and what we're going to do then is we're going to put another one just up here, so it gives it a bit of shelter. And then on the back we're going to do the same. But only onto the cardboard, as then it doesn't leave a giant gap underneath it that we need to hide. Okay, so on to the next piece of the barricade, which is putting some chain link on it. What we've got here is a piece of bamboo skewer. Now, if you grab the ends of a long piece of bamboo skewer and bend it, then as it starts to break, it slowly starts to split apart as well. And then if you look at this, if you're careful, you can actually pull it apart so that you have both pieces that slot together again. Oh, if you're not butterfingers like me, perfectly. So that's what I've done here. I've got this piece and this piece. And what I'm going to do is glue this, because I found, with super glue, because I found it's actually very difficult to hot glue this stuff, because it can actually melt the plastic. So there we go, we've run a bead along. Obviously, to point out as well, sorry, I have secured the mesh with blue tack to hold it in place so that it's not springing around and everything, because of course, as I'll show you in a second once I've glued this down, and once again pinned it down with some more blue tack, the mesh we've got is the simple stuff that you get your veg and such in. This actually had some garlic in it. I believe you get the same thing for like strawberries around the wrappers and oranges, all that sort of thing. But if you look at it at first, let's see if I can get something for a comparison there for you. Turn the light this way a bit. At first it's really quite small, and then when you pull it, it actually stretches, and that is more the sort of shape you want for wire mesh. So we've given this some time to glue now. Let's start gently peeling off these pieces of blue tack. Let's see how we've done, shall we? Now you'll notice I have left a gap at the top. That is because it's a lot easier than stretching all of the mesh through. And all we're going to do is just run the scissors along. Of course, if you had something, a cutting surface, you could run a scalpel or something like that along there. And as you'll look, it's just longer than we need it to be. So the ends, which I'm sure you noticed aren't perfect, what we're going to do is cut them down. In doing which, I have just managed to loosen the super glue. So the horse setting, sorry, I've got to get the lid off. Before it sets completely, what I'm going to do is run a glob along it, like so, whilst I'm holding it, and it's blow and such. Anyway, we'll come back once I've glued this again. It is a risk to take, of course. If you pinch it on the side just next to where you're cutting it, then that's not as likely to happen. Anyway, we'll come back once I've done this, and I might need to de-stick my finger. Okay, so we've hot glued the mesh on at the top, and then, oh sorry, and then I've hot glued it at the bottom here. Now of course this is quite messy, but it is only a temporary thing just to hold it. What I've also done is I've got some fishing line, just normal cheap stuff. This was actually off my reel when it tangled up, and I've done a little knot to hold it onto the bottom on each side, and then glued it. And what we're going to do now is feed it through one of the loops, and we want to keep to the same loop each time, pulling it tight. And this, sorry, I do apologise, let's just see if you can see that better. Well, you get the idea. Just basically the loop on the end, so the mesh is pulled at the desired length that you want. Of course, normally if you were doing this, you wouldn't have the spikes in the way, because you'd either just be doing this, or you'd do it before the spikes. But I didn't think about that. That's another little lesson for all of you. Now, anyway, for the sake of ease, we're going to say that's enough. So all you do is you then hold the end, pinch it tight, and then just there. Apply some hot glue onto it and leave it to set. Yeah. And there we go. And the bit you're holding, you just cut off. And we'll come back to this in the next video for painting.